I would like to welcome everyone tonight. My name is Barbara Grosh, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters. I'm very happy to welcome you all here. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We don't endorse either candidates or parties. We always invite all the candidates who manage to make it onto the ballot to a debate. In this case, we ended up with two, and furthermore, we don't hold empty seat debates where there's only one candidate. So for tonight's debate, we ended up with acceptances of our invitation by Michael Arcuri, a Democrat, and Sharon Sattler LeBlanc, also a Democrat running for the town board. The two Republicans did not accept our invitation. They said it was because of scheduling problems, which Lord knows there's plenty of those. Superintendent candidate Kathy Koshikar did accept our invitation, but we can't have her on here because of our empty chair policy. We are working with Superintendent Smith to see if we can find a date that when the two of them can debate later on. So, I said superintendent, supervisor. Thank you, Sharon. All right, so now I'm going to ask Karen Morris to turn on her camera. Karen will be the moderator in tonight's debate. We welcome questions from the audience. If you want to put questions in, you can use the Q&A on the bottom of your screen, and we will take a look at those and consider them. All right, Karen, take it away.
Great. So we have, as Barbara has said, we have two of our candidates present tonight, and these are candidates for town board for the town of Pittsford. So we welcome both of them. First, let me introduce Michael Arcuri. Mr. Arcuri, if you will show your face. Great. And we have Dr. Sattler LeBlanc, and Doctor, if you will come in. Great. And we also have, very importantly, a timer. So our timer is Marilyn Rosen. If you'll come in, Marilyn, and we thank you for your work this evening. Marilyn's going to notify the candidates when they are getting close to the end of their time, and then she will identify when their time is up. If candidates, if you are mid-sentence, feel free to finish your sentence, but please do so briefly in that circumstance. We note also, as Barbara did, that one candidate, Democratic candidate for supervisor, is present, and hopefully there'll be arrangements made, as Barbara said, for a separate debate for the two candidates for supervisor. So with that, and let me also welcome everybody who has come to watch this debate. We appreciate your interest in politics and in your town of Pittsford. With that, I'll ask each candidate for 1 minute to give us an opening, tell us a little about themselves and why they've chosen to run. For this start, we'll go in alphabetical order. So Mr. Arcuri, take it away. Probably your whole life you've done things first. So
I always win that, yeah.
This is no different.
Well, thank you, Karen, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for setting this all up. My name is Michael Arcuri. I'm one of the candidates for Pittsford Town Board. I was actually born in Brighton, later moving to Pittsford after high school. I attended SUNY Geneseo and Wake Forest School of Medicine before coming back home to Pittsford with my family. So being a physician assistant, I've actually worked in medicine for over a decade. And in that time, I've worked in large hospitals and smaller outpatient clinics, all of which I've honed skills in transparency, communication, and efficiency to really help not only the medical practices run smoother, but also to help with patient outcomes and outcomes for a whole community. Additionally, I have a mathematics background where I've worked in statistical modeling, where we primarily look on how small changes in policy can really have large impacts on communities. So with a different set of expertise and a community-centered approach, I believe I will be a strong asset on the town board, and will work diligently to create a stronger community throughout Pittsford.
Great, thank you. Let me just mention to Ms. Rosen that when you hold the time up real close to your screen, we only see a small piece. Yeah, that's there you have it. Great, thank you. And Dr. Sattler LeBlanc, introduce yourself if you will.
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this evening. Again, my name is Tron Sattler LeBlanc, and I am an educator and a university director with over 30 years of experience locally, helping people navigate complex systems with transparency, accountability, and care. And the programs and services I've worked with expand access, strengthen equity, and improve results. Skills that translate directly to the work that I will bring to the town board and relate to good governance. I'm also a parent and a community organizer, work that I was brought to through my own experience with poor policy. And I know how to work across divides to make differences that solve problems and make differences in people's lives. So I look forward to serving the community, working for not only our residents, but also for the people who work here, and working for our families at all stages of life. Pittsford works best when we plan for the people who actually work and live here, and not just for traffic. So thank you.
Great, thank both of you. So first question, we'll start with Dr. Sattler LeBlanc. The question is, what should be the town's priorities? And maybe if you give us first and second, given the limited time, that'd be great. And let me say to the audience, the person who goes first gets 1.5 minutes, and the second person gets 1 minute. That's to allow time for time that may be needed to explain the question. So Dr. Sattler LeBlanc.
Well, this is a great opportunity for us to talk about our platform. Thanks, Marilyn, no worries. I love the community format of this. This is great. We've talked a lot about safety and access. So let me talk a little bit about safety and safety for all people, whether you're in a vehicle, whether you're walking, whether you're pushing a stroller or pushing your rollator throughout all ages, or however you're getting around town. Safety has been a huge talking point for all of our neighbors as we've been hitting on doors. You know, we have a lot of our neighbors who would like to be able to walk, bike around town, but we also have a lot of cars that are running through town like there are no stop signs. We have a very densely populated town, and I like to refer to them as shroads, streets and roads that are running through densely populated neighborhoods. And we need to continue to work on bringing our traffic down. We need to calm it down, whether it's our neighborhoods or those major throughways that are going through our towns and villages. And that's not just about enforcement, that is also about design. And that's also up to us to work as neighbors, as well as working with our state and federal partners. And that's also about access, and making sure that people know how that process works. And that's about us going to them as well as inviting them into the process. So I hope Michael can talk a little bit more about some of the ways that we've been talking about making that happen. So I'm so excited that I don't have to just leave you hanging. So Michael, you want to take it from there?
Absolutely. So I 100% agree. Knocking on doors, and we've knocked on hundreds and hundreds of doors. Traffic seems to be one of the biggest issues throughout Pittsford. But another issue is that people feel like their voices aren't necessarily being heard. It's many folks who either have family obligations or they work, it's hard to make that 6 p.m. meeting for the town board. And so bringing more accessibility to everyone in Pittsford is extremely important. And whether that looks like holding separate sort of town hall style informal meetings throughout different parts of the community, or improving the accessibility on our website through interactive polls and interactive portals. getting the majority of the population of Pittsford sort of amplifying their voices to figure out not only what are real issues that we need to help with, but how we can fix these and how we can work with our communities to find the best solution. So, oh, thank you.
Great, thank you. Let me say to folks who are watching, feel free, and we encourage you to put questions that you might have in the chat, and I will incorporate them into the program. The next question, and we start this time with Mr. Arcuro. Does government have a role in supporting businesses in town? And how, if so, how would the government do that?
So
how
yeah,
how would you advocate that government do that?
So we can do that through a few ways. So before I started really talking to a lot of folks throughout town, I sort of started with small businesses and I went around business to business to see what the government in the town can really do to help. And with a couple of different businesses, I'll use printing as an example. How they used to do in the past is they would usually have sort of a bid for who does a lot of the work for the town. So for printing, for example, they would have a bid and everyone would sort of submit that a lot like the federal government does. And I think we can make priority for local businesses, union businesses, and that way you can really help support local while also helping save money for the town as well. Also, bringing people to a lot of these small businesses is a really important job of the town. So working on advertising a lot of our small businesses on what we have in the town, having events throughout town that bring a lot of people to these small businesses can really bring a lot of revenue and support them as well. So I do think that as a town, we do have a responsibility to help uplift a lot of our small businesses, but and those are just a couple of ways that I think we can do so.
Great, thank you. Dr. Sattler-LeBlanc.
Absolutely. Just to echo what Michael has said, you know, we have a number of small businesses in town. We have a very vibrant village as well as a pretty robust corridor down Monroe Avenue. So certainly having strong relationships with those businesses, I think would be key to maintaining. But also, you know, our town really very much has talked about wanting to have more opportunities to spend their time and their dollars in our town. So I think making sure that we're amplifying those small businesses and those opportunities for our town to support those businesses will be important, mapping those you know, those ecosystems so that we can make sure that our town can know about those opportunities, but even knocking doors, you know, and talking to some of those business owners who have had to make those decisions to take their businesses outside of Pittsford. You know, that's been kind of tough to have some of those conversations. Would love
let me do this. Let me interrupt just because of time. I want to respect the time limits, but there's obviously more to this question than time permits. So let me ask as the next question, is there any follow-up to what it is that you had to say? And maybe given that this is a follow-up question and Dr. Sattler was the last speaker, we'll let you finish and what you were saying. And so you would go first in answering this question.
I think there's incredible opportunity in our town. You know, we have a very residential neighborhood. Any investment that a town has done to make it more walkable has been, you know, I'm a nerd. I'm just going to be upfront about that. And, you know, as I've been learning more about this, residents have talked about making our town more walkable. And so we have an amazing village, and our village is separate than our town. But we have already been doing some great work, and we need to continue to do that. But our community wants to have more access by sidewalks and pathways, and they don't want to be in their cars all the time. So the more that we can continue to build on that sort of walkability to get where they want to go and to have, spend their money in town without getting in a car is going to just continue to build on the economy of our town as well as the desirability of our town. We all know that our canal is an incredible draw for not only our local, but I remember before I was living in Pittsford, this was a destination. So, I think there's incredible opportunity for us. We
Okay,
can do a
thank
lot
you.
more. There's so much
Thank
more
you.
we can do.
And Mr. Arcuri.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. So yeah, additional ways that we can really help support our small businesses is by helping with transportation for those who either can't drive or seniors who have given up their keys. Over 20% of our town is 65 plus. And a lot of those folks either don't feel comfortable driving and so only drive if they absolutely need to, or they rely on family to get around. So if we are able to work with a nonprofit in town called the Elderberry Express to really be able to increase how many rides we can give to these seniors, I think that would also help to increase a lot of the business to these small businesses as well.
Okay.
I also
Then
need to kind of rebut a little bit to Michael here. As I've been knocking on these doors, am I allowed to sort of rebut a little bit and take a little of his time?
I think this is Pittsburgh is known for these kinds of issues, walking its loveliness for those circumstances. So yeah, and their time for each question is so limited. Let's stay with this question for a little more. So yes, and let me expand the question and then give you more time. And that would be to not just walking, but biking paths and infrastructure in the town. So walking and biking infrastructure, what would you do to enhance it?
Well, and I just wanted to add with that, I was just going to add on to that is that we have an incredibly fit senior population in Pittsford. As I've been knocking doors and seeing the population, we got to keep up with Pittsford. They're not just aging, they're fit. I'm sorry, but grandma does CrossFit. So she's the one who's going to be biking and hitting those trails. So it is vital that we are keeping up with our seniors. So we need to continue to develop our trails and our paths, not just for our young families, but for all of our generations. We have an incredibly vibrant community, and to find ways to connect them with all of our generations. There's such a wealth of human capital in our community, between our universities as well as our senior communities as well. And I think there's so many opportunities that we have not even begun to touch upon, to find those connections between those communities. So, whether finding those meaningful community connections, and that's been some of the community conversations that I know that we've talked about, is making those community building, and addressing the isolations, finding those third spaces for people to connect. Those I think are some real opportunities for us. But whether it is working on those grants, but also empowering some of these incredible grassroots organizations, we have expertise within our communities to help us
Great.
solve these problems.
Thank you, Mr. Arcuri.
So I do think that improving both the walkability and the ability to cycle around Pittsford, it does a couple of things. So I think in a lot of our streets, we can add bike lanes. It's an easy thing to do. And if we work with our state and our county partners, not only does that narrow down the driving lane, which then slows traffic down a little bit, but it also gets cyclists and those who sort of have to walk on the street out of the way of cars, making it a little bit safer. And then again, we need a lot of sidewalks in our community, and we're continually working on prioritizing which streets do need those. but working with each community to figure out how to make not only that community more walkable, but safer as well. And so I think a lot of this goes back to we need to work with each community to figure out what we can do best for them.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we start with Mr. Arcuri. There were some references to senior citizens. Let's go to youth, the opposite end. Do you think
Okay.
the town offers sufficient recreation and other programs for its youth to keep them healthy and engaged in positive activities? And how might you enhance what is offered?
So yeah, I think our town does an amazing job with both youth services and activities to keep everyone fit and healthy. I would actually say we might need more. So I have two small kids, and during the summer, everyone sort of tries to find places that they can go and camps that they can do. And a lot of times, what that means is you log on at midnight and then try as hard as you can to get in as many things as you can in 5 minutes. And that's tough. And so I think finding a way to really expand youth care and camps, especially during the summer and after school, it would be an excellent way to help our community. But no, I think we're doing an amazing job at the moment as well. Everyone who, at least my kids, whenever they go to anything over at the community center or anything in town for that matter, they have an amazing time and they truly enjoy it. Um, Everyone who works there really does an incredible job. So, um, I guess, yeah, to answer your question, they are doing an amazing job, but I do think that we could use we could expand some of those programs to really help more.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Settler LeBlanc.
Well, I have been working with university campuses for my whole career, and I actually started my career at one of our campuses right here in Pittsford. There's always opportunities, and I think people believe in what they help create. So I think that would be an opportunity for us to create some, you know, we can get an advisory group from students. And one of the pieces that we have incredibly gifted young adults here. And I think when, rather than, trying to create things, giving real estate to, and when I say real estate, giving them a space to think about and create for themselves, can foster creativity, and solutions that can be incredibly meaningful to them, as well as experiences that will help create solutions that will be helpful for all of us in the future. For example, I would love to see, what they could do, bridging relationships with some of those senior communities as well.
Great.
So, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to follow up on quality of life with one more question, and we start with Dr. Sattler LeBlanc. What can town members do to make Pittsford a place that will remain competitive with other great places to live in the coming years? What innovations should the town board consider?
We have such a wealth in this town. And when I say a wealth, I think a lot of people are going to immediately assume that it's, what we earn, but it's really our people, just the experiences that we have, just the care that we have for each other. And I think the more that we can foster the care that we have in our neighborhoods, we have seen neighbors literally sitting out in their communities with each other in the evening, connecting with each other, finding ways that we can amplify and celebrate the traditions that we have here, ways that we can encourage people to transmit those traditions with each other, helping other groups to bring those traditions forward and sharing them with the community at large. I think those can be some ways that we can continue to make Pittsford the strong community that it is and will be even stronger in the future. So I think building community is what really Pittsford is about. I think about the ways that people take care of their neighbors. You know, those are the stories that we've been hearing over and over again. So, you know, the ways that we can celebrate, the ways that we take care of each other. But we can also continue to do the positive events that we have to connect each other across the town. Those are the things that, you know, we connect with and celebrate and build that strong fabric that we all value with all the very different communities that we have. I know that's one thing that I know we all appreciate. With my son being what I consider the mayor of Pittsford, as I walk across town, everyone knows my son. Everyone who went to school with him knows who he is. I just like to report that I'm Adam's wicked step monster. So, all
Great,
right.
thank you. Mr. Arcuri.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? You broke up a
Sure,
little bit on my
sure. It
end.
expands on what what you've been talking about. What can town board members do to make Pittsford a place that will remain competitive with other great places to live in the area and beyond in the coming years? What innovations might the board consider? So this would
Perfect.
address seniors, youth, and everybody in between.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. I do think that what really will help is improving accessibility. Um, and there are a few ways that we can do that. One way is through improving our website and modernizing a lot of what we do. So a lot of our folks, they work throughout the day, they have kids, and if anything requires having to go to town hall during business hours, they have to take off time to do that, whether that's a new dog registration, licensing, permitting. A lot of that is tough for people who just cannot make it during business hours. So I think modernizing our website and being able to digitize a lot of that will help. So you can upload documents, you can pay online, you can do all of these things without necessarily having to go in during certain hours. So I think that would help one population. In addition, I think another thing we can do is work on different types of housing for different folks. So I know in Pittsford, we have an amazing plethora of houses that are 4, 5, 6 bedrooms. And so having a different style of home, whether it be a patio home, condo, that sort of thing for people who want to downgrade, I think that's also important to help a lot of our seniors as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next question, we begin with Mr. Arcuri. A two-part question. Should the town increase the amount of affordable housing? And if so, what should the town government do to make that happen? And if not, why not?
Okay, well, thank you for that. Yeah, that actually kind of touches on what I was mentioning earlier. Yeah, so affordable housing has a lot of people take it to mean different things. How I take affordable housing is I think we need to change and increase the diversity of the different types of houses that we have. So, like I spoke earlier, we have a lot of larger houses, but when people, especially seniors, try to downsize and stay in the area that they really love to be in Pittsford, their home, it's hard to find same story condo style homes. And that's also difficult for those that work in Pittsford. So whether you're a teacher or a paramedic, it's tough to find houses that you can afford. And I think having this affordability aspect of things doesn't necessarily mean low income. It just means houses that are not $1 million houses. And so I do think that we need to adjust some of the zoning code to have more townhouses, patio homes, and those sorts of things. Yes. Um, and then what was the second part of the question?
Uh,
Sorry.
uh, is, do you, if the town should have more affordable housing, what is necessary to make it happen? And if you don't think so, why not? So you
Gotcha.
clearly do, and you may
Perfect.
have answered the question well. Yes.
Thank you.
Anything further, though, because we took up that last 15 seconds of your time.
Nope. I feel like I
Okay,
answered
great.
both of them. Thank you.
Dr. Settler LeBlanc.
So yes, to kind of join with Michael there. So I think we have in Founders Glen an example of how we can look at the footprint of a house. That what we have in that area of our town is a more dense footprint and a more walkable community. It is a beautiful community and space, and it allows people to have a beautiful home. It's accessible. But it also allows to still preserve the green print. So what I think there are ways that we can still maintain the character of Pittsford with more housing, but also still addressing the needs of our community with different types of a footprint. So I think there are ways that we can meet the needs, but we also have to look at different ways of providing that. So yes.
Great, thank you. I am now seeing a number of questions that have come in from the audience, which I didn't see before. So thank you for these. Let me pose some of these questions. What are your views on Bushnell Basin development? And we start with Dr. Settler LeBlanc.
All right. So what we're seeing, I think what you were referring to with those questions is we are starting to see more density in our communities. And that is going to have certainly an impact on, I think that'll certainly have an impact on roads and traffic. So I think that absolutely is going to be an important conversation about sort of what's going to be happening in the future. So let's talk about it from at least a safety perspective and traffic. So those are going to have to be long-term conversations and, well, not even long-term, but I think we are going to have to talk about what's that impact going to be on how people are getting around through and around our community. So as our communities become more dense, we're going to have those, we are going to have to work on that because all these vehicles are coming through our communities. And we have to work on some strategies to start bringing that down. One of the things that we've been having conversations about is we have more people who are wanting to get through our town, but we also have people who need access to alternatives. We have people who want to be able to have options like to bike. So there are some opportunities for us to address that, but we can't just keep working on making roads faster for cars because that is not going to make things safer for people who are trying to walk. And it's not just about enforcement. So we have to be working on creating some solutions and slowing things down.
Great, thank you. Mr. Arcuri.
Yeah, so with additional developments going up, whether it's in the basin, whether it's in Pittsford, wherever it may be, traffic is always one of the biggest, especially with all the construction going on the highway. There's a lot more traffic here these years than there has been in the past. And so sort of speaking off of what Sharon said, you also have to think of the safety of the population as well. So yes, there are more cars. We also have to improve the infrastructure as well. I've lived in places when I went to PA school down in North Carolina, a city, Charlotte, which is down there, which is very heavily populated. But it's a city that the population starts to outgrow the infrastructure that's there. So the roads can no longer really support it. So I think we have to put a lot of thought and care into what the future holds and work with experts in the field to help really improve the infrastructure to support this increase in population, in addition to making our streets more walkable, more bikeable, because we do need alternative transportation routes.
Great, thank you. I would just note, Mr. Arcuri, that your comment about the website needing modernizing struck a chord with some in our audience tonight. They say it's infuriating and just trying to reserve a room is impossible. So if you're elected, hopefully you will address that early on.
Absolutely.
Here's a question. I know the other panelists aren't here, but what are the main contrasts between your platform and theirs? Mr. Arcuri.
So for me, the main difference between all of us, well, I can speak to myself, is just a different set of expertise. So I work in the medical field. A lot of my training is very community centric, whereas you grow input, you grow engagement, and that actually makes policies significantly better. When you fall into this pitfall of the loudest voices, that's who the policies are made for, then it leaves a lot to be desired. So for me, it's more about community and my experience, one of which is with more of the senior population. So that's why I really want to push more towards improving transportation for our seniors, improving housing options when they want to downsize. Um, and that's, I think, one of the biggest differences between all of us is that we bring a different experience and a different mindset to a lot of these policies. And that's one of the things that makes our government great. We have different opinions, and we can all kind of get together and figure out what's best for everybody. Um, so yeah, I think that is sort of one of the biggest differences that I have. It's just a different mentality, a fresh perspective. Um, Not to mention just kind of going off of um, the communication aspect of things in the website. I've lived in other places, primarily when I was going to school down south, where they did have a town website. They did have that had interactive aspects. They did have a town smart app where you could do all of these things on your phone. So I think I can bring a lot of those experiences to help us here in Pittsford.
Thank you. And Dr. Sattler LeBlanc.
So I come to this as a community organizer. I actually have been on a university campus the majority of my life. I actually got involved in this work as someone who's impacted by domestic gun violence, and found that after years of rage giving, I got a phone call after donating to another organization, and found that those skills actually worked quite well in the community. And so I have worked across the aisle. I'm very effective at talking to anyone. So whether it's talking to someone in my own party or talking to someone who may not necessarily agree with me, I find that it's not just legislation that makes a difference, it's education. So whether it's bringing the skills that I have on campus to using, the technology that we use on campus, like making sure that you get a text message if we have to close a road down, or, if there's a building that's shut down, whether it's, educating the community about trying to make our community a little bit safer, or working on a better policy. Those are some of the strategies that I'll work on to work with the community to make sure that we're making our community better.
Great. Here's another question from the audience. How would you welcome new families and younger individuals who have no previous ties to Pittsford? It appears there is a town government legacy of catering to the hopes and dreams of those who have longstanding ties. Dr. Sattler LeBlanc.
Well, my upbringing was actually, I tell my story about the kitchen table. My mother, being an immigrant, oftentimes had her girlfriends at the table, the kitchen table, and we'd share meals there. And that's where we also shared information. So literally at our kitchen table, the kitchen table is really the university for me. The table is really where the bridge where we learn everything together. So I would invite people to share and learn together and break bread together, and bring their traditions and make them a part of our tradition here in Pittsford. And, whether it's inviting them to learn a little bit about some of our traditions, some of the things, whether it's coming to grab an ice cream after their big event over at the farm, or whether it's going to the duck drop, or, coming to, I'm a big fan of the band, come see the band concerts. But what tradition is it going to be that's going to become your tradition and your family's tradition? So those are some of the ways that, and I'm going to be your RA. So quite honestly. So those are some of the things that I would probably try to do, bringing my higher education background and being sort of the welcome wagon as well.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Arcuri.
So I think one of the beautiful aspects of a town is that everyone is different. We bring differences and we bring different traditions, like Sharon said. And I think celebrating those and teaching others something new is excellent. At the same time, having a lot of pride in growing up in a town and staying here is also amazing. So I think a good town is a mix of everybody. And as you continue to have an influx of new families, you also continue to have different ideas that maybe there is something that we can do better and we never really thought of. Um, whether it's with a different way to work with traffic or a different way to help each other. I think communities thrive when there are differences. And so I think that having a lot of folks that are coming in and a lot of folks that have been here for a long time is welcomed. And I think we need to make sure that they feel welcomed, make sure their voices are heard, along with everybody else.
Thank you. Next question, again from the audience. This is the question is really about a town pool. It's not written by way of a question, but the forming a question from it. A town pool added to the rec center would offer might offer water safety classes and summer respite for residents that cannot afford memberships to the Y or the JCC. Would you support such construction, Mr. Arcuri?
100%. As a father of little kids who are learning how to swim and knowing how expensive it is just to be anywhere with a pool, I really do think that having a public pool would be a welcomed thing. And then as someone who has grown up with a public pool where during the summer you'd go pretty much every weekend to go swim and practice that, it's a cherished memory of mine. So I think that having a place where kids can go learn how to swim, learn how to be safe around water, um, all within one area, I think is a beautiful thing. Also, we would be able to hire a lot of lifeguards, and put additional jobs within the community, for our young folks. And I think that in addition would be a welcome thing. So yes, I 100% agree, and I would support a town pool.
Thank you. And Dr. Settler LeBlanc.
You know, I've heard from families that that is definitely a need, especially when, you know, we have a grandparent who's bringing all their little ones in. So I think we definitely need to find a solution to that. So you know, is there a way that we can address that need? So I'm wondering, you know, one way that we could do that is either put that to the community, or is there a way that we can find a solution within our community, whether it's looking at one of the you know, facilities within our community. So that would be something I would love to work on with our board to see if there is, you know, what's the best way that we could financially address that challenge. But it's definitely a need we need to address. And if that's a need, we need to figure out a way to meet that need. So
Great.
yes.
Thank you. Then there's a couple of questions of things we've touched on, but the audience is obviously interested, so worth another round of question. The next one is, how does Pittsford stay competitive with Fairport and others who are massively expanding their canal footprint? Dr. Sattler LeBlanc.
So that's a great question. What does that canal footprint mean? Does that mean like as a business? Does that mean what is, you know, so that's an interesting question, and it's hard to answer that based on the without additional context. And I think that's a challenge of Zoom right now. So what I've just from having talked to people, what I've heard in context with Zoom or with some of the people I've talked to is how can we support, whether it's festivals, whether it's businesses? So I think that would need to be a conversation that we need to do in partnership with our community. So How can we work with some of the organizations in town? How can we work with, to make that happen? That can't just be done in isolation. So, I think that needs to be something that we need to figure out. What are the barriers and what can we do as a community to help support that and make that more vibrant and what the community is looking for.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Arcuri.
So yeah, this is something that has actually been brought up by more than a few folks that I've talked to at the doors. And I think that as a town, we can do certain things to help bring businesses in. I know that for example, Pittsford doesn't necessarily have a designated 5K. So something that brings in a lot of town and can actually get a lot of money to some nonprofits, or fireworks during the 4th of July. These are things that can help, but we need to work with our village neighbors. We need to really work together to figure out how to optimize the diversity of businesses and what we can do as a town to help support that on the canal, because the canal is a beautiful place. It's one of the centers of Pittsford. And like Fairport, I agree with sort of helping to build up as much as we can with our support.
Great. Okay, last two questions from the audience. Both deal with housing, but they're somewhat different, so we'll do each one separately. And to some extent, you've addressed some housing issues, and this will take us deeper. The first of the two questions: what are your thoughts on housing needs in Pittsford? How will you support those needs in a board member capacity? Mr. Arcuri.
So we do need more housing. A lot of our housing is larger, more expensive homes, and sort of like we touched on a little while ago, we need to diversify the types of houses that we have. So we need more 1 and 2 bedroom condos, townhouses, single family homes. Well, and we can keep the same aesthetic that we do here in Pittsford, but we do need to improve the different types of homes. And apartments as well, but doing it the right way. So, for example, one of the apartment complexes that we're putting in, where the old Barn Bazaar was across from the YMCA, that's an excellent place for an apartment complex. The 2 ways out are on main roads, and they already have stoplights. So I think there's a way to improve housing, and I think the goal that we should have is to create different types of housing. And in doing that, it also, as seniors downsize, it also brings new families into Pittsford as well. So yeah, I think there is a need, and I think that should be our overall goal as time goes on.
Thank you. And Dr. Settler-LeBlanc.
So one of the ways that I would like to see is creating some more community engagement around the question itself. So it's not just bringing in the community when there's the question of zoning itself. Can we have, for example, a community learning about this question itself? What is the greater challenge that we're all dealing with nationally? Why is this a huge issue? There are organizations that are grappling with this nationally. One of the organizations that I've been tapping into is called Strong Towns. They have conversation groups across the country. We could have a group here having those conversations, learning together. We have experts at universities. Goodness, they live here. That work at area universities throughout Western New York that we could tap into and start that learning and that conversation right here. So, we don't need to be doing the solutions ourselves. We can start thinking of those solutions and struggling with them and working through those questions as a community.
Great, thank you. So we're getting near the end. We're going to end around 8:30. There was one more question from the audience that dealt with and I've lost it. But let me ask you to re-type it. It dealt with housing and the side of Pittsford closest to Mendon. So if that person would reassert the question, and while you're doing that, I'll ask one other question. It's not possible to anticipate every issue in our questionings tonight that will come up over the next 4 years. What principles or values will you use when making decisions, regardless of what the issue is? Dr. Sattler-LeBlanc.
So, one of the things that my students have taught me is every relationship worth having eventually comes into conflict. How you work through that conflict will determine the quality of your relationship. So, what that means is that I will work through conflict, and my values are community based. So, working through things in a way that values the community and the individuals involved. I believe that that has already been. I believe that my colleagues on my slate can attest to that. And there is value to that. There is value in the struggle with that. So I will do my homework. I know I joke about that a little bit, being an educator, but there is something to be said for that. And making sure that I get to know the community, get to know the people, and I will continue to do that. I also know that the best work and the best decisions are based on we are representatives, and the work that we will do is not going to be done in isolation, that we are going to need to continue to bring people to the work. And so that's the work we're doing now, is to build those relationships so that our community will be a part of the decision-making process, and won't leave us to these meetings in isolation.
Great, thank you. Mr. Arcuri.
Yeah, so this actually leads into one of the reasons why I started running, and that was to improve communication and community involvement. Our town isn't isolated. We have a lot of folks in our town that have a lot of different expertise than we do. And so we really need to keep an open mind and learn from other towns what they have done and learn what will work with us and reach out to the community to figure out what needs we have, and different experts in those areas and different opinions throughout the community. So how I would really like to do that is by improving and modernizing a lot of our communication systems, make it easier for folks to reach out. So if they can't make a board meeting, we still be able to hear their voice. By really helping to maybe create a smart app or something where if they're sitting at a soccer game for their kid, they can easily just message or listen to the town board meetings and really get input from everyone. So communication and community input, I think, will go a long way in solving future problems.
Great, thank you. And here is that my cat wants to join us. Sorry, all. Here's that last question. I now have the original question, and the questioner typed in some further clarification of the question. So I'll read both. The question was, how can the town board help to add affordable housing to the Mendon side of the district? Not just for seniors, but for families who need to downsize but don't want to leave the school. All the housing is on the Sutherland side. And then the follow-up, where or how can we make affordable housing available on the other side of the school district? It's all on the Sutherland side, and families want to stay in their schools. Let's see, I think we start with Mr. Arcuri.
So I do know that as we get out towards the Mendon aspect of the town, the lot sizes are much larger. And I think that's why, sort of, as population density goes, it gets sort of less dense as we go out. I think that part of our job as the town board is to work with a lot of the planning and zoning boards to help with these specific issues. And I would really lean on their expertise in that matter. So I know there are certain designated areas that can be developed out there. And I think improving more dense houses rather than these really sort of 5 to 10 acre lots, I think would go a long way to helping with that. So yeah, I would start by changing some of the zoning out that way to increase the density rather than, and then have smaller houses that are more affordable, rather than these 10 acre, 5 acre lots with 5 and 6 bedroom houses on it.
Thank you. And Dr. Sattler-LeBlanc.
So sort of echoing what Michael has shared, I think part of our work is helping to educate the community about the green print. I think it is, our community has a green print that we have committed to. So how do we work with the limited sort of space that we have? And I, being creative with that and creating, housing that is a more, a smaller footprint. I think there can be some great opportunity to do that. That can, and, when you look at other countries where there is a more dense population, you can create some beautiful housing that still values nature, walkability. So I think there is ways that we can do both. But, we're going to have to work together on that.
Okay, thank you. And that will be the end of our questions. We'll give each candidate the opportunity to sum up and make any final comments that they wish. We'll give each a minute and a half, and we'll start with Dr. Sattler-LeBlanc.
So in closing, I would again like to thank the League of Women Voters for your constant work in this area of educating and empowering our voters and hosting us this evening. Likewise, I would just like to say to Pittsford that you deserve leadership of folks who will listen, to collaborate and work with you. And likewise, we are inviting you to work with us. We are asking that not only will you vote for us in November, but you will also continue to work with us past November, that you will learn with us, that you will also continue to work with us to build that political capital to do the work that we need to do for Pittsford as we meet the challenges of the future. I have spent my career helping institutions adapt through change while staying grounded in my values of transparency, inclusion, and accountability. And we are going to need to work together as neighbors, families, and local businesses to build a fabric that will support our families in the years to come. I want to make sure that our decisions today keep our community strong, connected, and welcoming for our children and the generations of the future. And I believe that our local government should make things work for people, not just vehicles, not just large businesses, but for our people. So again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters. I would like to thank you for your time and your attention. And I especially would like to thank you for your consideration of your vote this November.
Thank you. And Mr. Arcuri.
Yes, thank you so much for organizing all of this. So I'd like to conclude with Pittsford's an amazing place to live. There's a reason we're all here. We have amazing services, great parks, fantastic library, wonderful community events, and more. So I'm not running to change any of that. But what I do want to improve on is accessibility, transparency, and how efficient our government is. And these, I think, can help improve the quality of life for everybody. Right now, we need to make every voice be heard. And we need to help improve that by streaming our town meetings on a platform that is easy to use and enables real-time commenting. We need to enhance our website and modernize things to make it easy to use, and also have interactive portals where we can upload documents and make it so no one has to take off time to go to town hall just to fill out or talk to someone. And then finally, even hosting informal town hall meetings in different aspects of the community at different times so every voice can be heard. When we do all of this and we get more engagement throughout the community, that's when we can really solve the issues like slowing down traffic, creating a safer environment for cyclists and walkers, and improving transportation for seniors. So a vote for me is not a vote to change anything that is great in Pittsford. I want to keep everything that is good, but improving some of the things that we can actually improve on to help make Pittsford a better place for everybody. So together as a community, I really think that we can help solve the issues that come before us and help prevent issues in the future. Thank you again for having us. I really do appreciate organizing this and all the time.
Great. Thank you. Thank you to the audience for your interest in local government and for your good probing questions. Thank you to our candidates for allowing us to hear more about your positions and views on issues that the town board is likely to confront. And I turn it back to President of League of Women Voters. But let me, before I do that, let me also thank our timekeeper, very important part of this evening's program. And now the President of the League of Women Voters, Barbara, take it away.
Hi, okay, thanks to everyone. So this has been recorded and it will be uploaded probably later tonight or early tomorrow. I will send a link out to everyone who registered, and I encourage you to share those around with all your family and friends and put it on your social media. We often get more people watching afterwards than at the time, so that's a great way to help publicize it. And if we get word that we can schedule another debate for the supervisor candidates, I will also send notices to everyone who's registered. And that's it. So I'm going to close this out. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you so much.